A few days ago, William Ruto, Kenya's president, traveled to the United States. Is that news? You might ask me. Well, it is news because there's a lot to discuss in this short video. During this trip, every Kenyan who heard about it was fuming. The reason being the amount of money that the president and his cronies were spending on that trip. Instead of using the normal president jet that he uses, he decided to hire a private jet, a luxurious one for that matter, which to me was not sensible. This time round, President Ruto decided to hire a jet from the Royal Jet Group, which would cost the Kenyan taxpayer 200 million shillings or approximately $1.5 million. Why would President Ruto spend all that money on travel when Kenya is reeling from the shock of high taxation, debts, and high inflation? This is what international media houses described the tour by President Ruto.
About their president, William Ruto, who is on a state visit to the U.S. It's the first state visit by a Kenyan president in over 2 decades, the first since 2003. It's also the first time in 16 years that an African leader is on a U.S. state visit. So it is quite significant, but that's not what it's making news for. President Ruto is being slammed, not because he's in the U.S., but because of how he chose to get there. He decided to fly in a luxury jet. He chartered a Boeing 737-700 business jet from an Emirati company, the Royal Jet Group. He hired it for about 200 million Kenyan shillings. That's $1.5 million US. Ruto pulled out all the stops. He brought along an entourage of more than 30 people, which includes a famous Kenyan comedian. Everyone traveled to the US in style on the Kenyan taxpayers' dime, and this, more than anything else, has triggered the backlash. Now, some of you may wonder, what is the big deal here? After all, world leaders travel all the time. It's part of the job description. They need to travel to build relations and to negotiate trade deals. In the long run, the trip should more than pay for itself. And all of this may be true. And it's exactly what Ruto is using as his defense. But that has not helped quell public anger. Why? Because of Ruto's policies. He's been tough on Kenyan taxpayers. He became president in 2022 and he has been increasing taxes ever since. Ruto has increased the tax rate on salaries. He has doubled the sales tax on fuel. He has introduced a housing levy, a hospital insurance levy, and a turnover tax on small businesses. If it moves, Ruto taxes it. All in the name of fiscal responsibility. Kenya has a mountain of national debt. It was worth over $51 billion as of last December. Ruto had pledged to fix this. That is why he keeps raising taxes. And obviously, this is not a popular move. It puts an added burden on Kenyan citizens who are already struggling with the cost of living crisis and the rising cost of essential food items. In this situation, imagine hearing that your president is flying around in an Emirati jet. The same president who's been raising your taxes, who's been preaching austerity. That same president is taking more than 30 people, including a comedian, to the U.S. So you can see why the Kenyan people are angry. And this is not the first time, apparently. A few months ago, Ruto was dubbed Kenya's flying president. He's been on more than 50 foreign trips since he took office in 2022, more than 3 every month on average. In the year up to July 2023, he'd spent about $9.2 million US on travel, both domestic and international, 9.2 million. Now, this latest US trip alone will cost Kenya $1.5 million. For all the talk about austerity, Ruto's expenses just seem to be growing. So to calm the public down, he needs to have something to show for all of this, which is why this US trip needs to bear fruit. Ruto will have his official meeting with Joe Biden tomorrow. They're supposed to discuss a number of issues ranging from troop deployments in Haiti to extending a free trade agreement. Kenya's trade minister says that they have prepared more than 30 bankable projects. They're worth over $20 billion. Ruto will pitch these to American investors. If he can land a big deal, people may forget about the luxury jet.
And what good news did the trip yield to Kenya? Well, Kenya was given the title of non-NATO major ally. which to me is bonkers because it is the same thing that our forefathers or our grandparents or great-grandparents were accorded by the Britons or other colonial powers who ruled over them during the colonial times. Those elders would be given the title of paramount chief and their sense would fly out of the window. They would oppress their own, and guess what? They would be clapped for by the colonialists. Sometimes back, President Ruto was seen as a Pan-Africanist. When Ruto was elected as the Kenyan president, he held a meeting with the African leaders and they said, "We need to abolish the dollar." Are you doubting me? Are you doubting me? Check out this video.
The global system is rigged against African progress. It is our role, members, honorable members, it is our role to persistently bring to the attention of the world the importance of abandoning a fundamentally unjust global financial system and the prejudicial biases and attitudes that underpin it, not solely for Africa's sake, but to avert the collective peril of humanity. As African leaders, we have to canvass this agenda at every available opportunity in every forum. African integration will require freer movement of people and goods, which in turn call for better infrastructure and better connectivity. Yet the soul of free trade is the medium of exchange. The barriers to easy payments and settlements across borders within our continent are simply unsustainable. Let me give you an example. Traders from Djibouti selling to Kenya, or traders from Kenya selling to Djibouti, have to look for US dollars. How is US dollars part of the trade between Djibouti and Kenya? Why? And we are saying that today, Afri-Exim Bank have given us a mechanism where traders in our continent can trade in their goods and services, and the Africa-Exim Bank will settle payments in local currency. That is why Kenya champions the Pan-African payment and settlement system that is done by our own institution, the Afri-Exim Bank. Why, members? Why is it necessary for us to buy things from Djibouti and pay in dollars? Why? There is no reason.
Is it ironical that the same president that talked about the abolition of dollar as a major currency of trade is now in the United States? The highlight of the trip is when a Kenyan journalist, Ayub Abdikadir, asked President Ruto about the justification of sending soldiers or police to Haiti to fight gang and criminals. According to Ayub, there was no justification whatsoever for sending Kenyan police to Haiti, and this is what he asked President Ruto during his joint press conference with journalists.
Follow up to my president, Dr. Ruto. You said that Kenya is committed, and in your Carter speech in Atlanta, you said it's based on humanitarianism, helping Haiti out. But can you explain the geopolitical goal, 12,000 kilometers away from Nairobi, when schools in the counties of Baringo, West Pokot, and Turkana have not yet opened because of the banditry problem, yet you are committing our national police force to Haiti, and where is the priority? This being one of your major manifesto pillars, talking about security, and to the extent that even the Defense Cabinet Secretary talked about the deployment of, if need be, the Kenyan military or the special personnel to make sure that schools are open, children go to school in areas that are bandit prone in Kenya. Why are you committing to Haiti when we have a problem back home? Is it an irony that you are putting the fire in the faraway neighbor's home when our own home is on fire?
Thank you very much.
I made a commitment to the people of Kenya to sort out insecurity in the North Rift. I have followed that with action. As we talk, there are 3,000 military officers in the North Rift, 2,000 police officers in the North Rift. We have renovated the first 15 schools and completed. We have reopened 20 schools already that were closed in the North Rift, and that exercise is ongoing. We have made tremendous progress in making sure that we create security at home, but that does not take away our responsibility. Even as we were deploying troops and policemen in our own country, in North Rift, to sort out the banditry problem, we still deployed 1,000 troops to DRC Congo, because that is our neighborhood. We have 5,000 troops in Somalia, because equally that is our responsibility. And Haiti should not be an exception.
Haitians have already protested against the invasion of their country by Kenyan police and even issued warnings.
Blackface! Occupation of Haiti!
No, Ruto, still a slave! Still a slave!
William Ruto!
Still a slave!
William Ruto! William Ruto! William
Hands up, Haiti! Haiti is not for sale! Hands up, Haiti!
Haiti is not for sale!
Hands up, Haiti!
Haiti is not for sale!
Hands up, Haiti!
Haiti is not for sale!
If the US is genuine about its decision to back up Kenya for sending its police to the Haiti, why aren't they sending their own soldiers? They are just funding the move by weapons and funds. Well, the US knows how to play safe and watch from a distance as fools fight themselves to death. According to financial and political analysts, they said that President Ruto would be pitching about $20 billion projects for investors to invest in the country. But the US is wise, and they never invest where there is no return on investment. They have already seen that Africa is moving away from the West and moving towards China. So, in addition to support whatever Ruto brought to the table is very well calculated. They know that they have a high return on investment, or ROI if you like, on how they will benefit from Kenya. If Kenya refuses, they might send democracy to them. What will we see in Kenya in the long run? So many things are expected. Maybe the influx of LGBTQIA plus community could thrive because, well, the West is the backbone of this. All we have to do is to sit, wait and see what President Ruto is planning to do with Kenya.